listened to a lot about. Did you learn about battery storage systems?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you interested?
Okay.
Thank you. Well, welcome back, everybody who's stayed. So we're just going to resume the meeting. And the gentleman here would like to ask a question.
Yeah, hi, good evening. My name is Kim. I was asking a question regarding the community fridge and when will we be getting it back into the town centre, as well as obviously the one that we have behind the town hall, because hundreds of people that I've been talking to all want it back in the town centre as well.
Excellent. Well, Councillor Mark Dorrington knows all about that, so you're very lucky. He can answer your question.
I would say I know all about it, but the reason it's where we are, i.e. behind this building, the town hall, and you're aware that where it is now, because of, as seems to be the current vogue in Frome of vandalism, and the previous fridge was damaged. We are looking to take over the units, the old public loos in which it was located in the market square, in the cattle market, from what was Mendip, and we were negotiating with Mendip before they were abolished. With not too fine a point on it, the place was full of rats, and I, in my role as Open Spaces, said I don't want to take on a lease of something that's got that liability, and so we will take it on, the building, and do something with it when we're happy that it's completely hygienic and without the rodent problem. We will then look at relocating the fridge back to where it was. But anecdotally, I know you've spoken to people who don't like it not being in the centre of town. I spend time here and with Fair Frome, and some people quite like it here because they can park a car and get the stuff a lot more easily than they can in the centre of town. And so we will have to have a discussion, a bit of a debate about where we will locate it when we have a suitable place where it could be relocated.
Totally understand that, but people want it at both ends in town, if not in three situations. There are numerous people that come into the town by bus. The town centre is a much busier place than what it is up here. I can use it up here, and I do all the time. But there are a lot of people that obviously can't walk up to Park Road from the town centre. The people that organise it are more than happy to have more than one centre for the community fridge. I can't see any problem with putting up the metal storage units, which would be completely vermin-proof. If you knock the existing buildings down, if it's the drainage problem that the rats were getting up to do it. It seems that there are always reasons that people are making for not doing something rather than getting on and doing something, which this town was the first to have a community fridge. We should be proud of it, and we should be proud of the people that work it.
And we still have a community fridge. In fact, there's one at the Mount as well. So we have two. So people who live at the Mount don't have to catch a bus into the centre of town to use a community fridge and then come back again. And as you know, the very nature of a community fridge, it's a voluntary drop-off of stuff. So you can turn up and there's nothing there anyway. That sometimes you happen here. But as I say, we will look at, rather than try and create new issues of building a new building to accommodate it, we have a building there which we hope we can use for public good. And as soon as we've refurbished that, then we will look at relocating, if not this fridge, perhaps another one in due course.
Can I just add to that? I'm lead councillor for climate and ecological emergency, and I completely agree with you. I think the community fridge is one of the things that we did first, and it's had multiple iterations of it in other places, and it's something that we're sort of known for. And I really agree about that importance. But as Mark said, the site that it was subject to a great deal of vandalism, which meant that the expenses of having to constantly sort of replace, they were glass initially. The front doors of it, they were replaced with steel. It didn't sort of seem to help. And then obviously the issue around vermin as well has just, it's not safe to have it there at the moment for obvious reasons, given that it's food. And, I know Terry, who runs the community fridge, and there is also around the loop-to-loop building, once we do get it, there are plans around, what else could be, there's lots of ideas around what else could be put into that would also encourage people to come into the town and be part of that sort of circular economy things, and we could potentially have something quite exciting there. But as Mark says, we can't lease it or buy it from Somerset Council at the moment because of the condition that it is in. And we have, I know Nikki Brain, who is our resilience officer, has been working very hard on it and has been trying to push for it to, for them to sort out the issues. We just haven't, we haven't got anywhere, and it will end up being, I think the whole idea of the circular economy is that you make use of what you have as well. And I think that it's not a good use of resources to knock down a building and, build something new. And yeah, there is a lot of opportunity. I agree. That's a great sign. It could be brilliant. We just need to get hold of it.
Just one reply to your comment about sometimes there is nothing in the fridge. Terry, she could do another 5, 6, 7 collections a day. She can fill that fridge. She could fill another fridge without any problem at all. So I don't think it's actually valid to say that it's not going to be used. There is a lot of food that still is probably going to waste that she could make very, very good use of.
We know Terry, and we, there was an issue down in the town when people were just taking it and throwing it around. I mean, we had a lot of that, especially when Greggs were throwing their stuff in there in the evening and kids were just throwing it around the car park. Is that a good use of waste food? I don't know. But it's easier at the moment, this vandalism thing, we're dealing with it in other places. It's easier to control it here, for sure. There's far less incidents of it since it's come here. That's something we will have to look at when it is replaced. And we appreciate what Terry does collecting stuff. And I have to come here quite often with Fair Froom stuff, and yeah, sometimes there's lots, sometimes there isn't, but I get the point that if there is more room, then we can fill it, and that would be great.
Okay, thanks for waiting.
Yeah, thanks for hanging on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I must be a day late on Facebook.
Yeah, the full council meeting was last night.
Yeah, never mind. Sorry to have told you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye. Excellent. Right. Moving on to planning. Based on the planning.
That was kind of planning related.
We are still being recorded. Just, I think Catherine's going to do the second half. Let's hope it's not half, but the second part of the meeting. And I think we're going to start with North Hill House. Is that correct? Yeah, and I think Emma, you've been patiently waiting online. Thank you very much. It's been a long one so far. So we'll now discuss North Hill House.
Right, it's my time to shine. So the next application that we'll be discussing is 287 North Hill House, and that is an application to vary condition 8, which is the capacity of the student body, which was put in their previous planning application when they wanted to make some changes to the building, and when they wanted to change from a residential school to a day school. They were limited to 66 pupils. They have now asked for that capacity to be raised to 88 pupils. So on the screen, I have got a site plan of the building. It's just off Broomfield, to the north of the town, and then the current site layout plan of the parking, as the main crux of their argument centres around parking and the amount of people, the amount of taxis, etc., dropping off children during the day. They've included site operation, taxi movements, etc., through the car park, but Highways have requested more information and they'd like a redesign of the car parking area. North Hill House are arguing that their pickups and drop-offs wouldn't increase that much, only only by a couple of taxi drop-offs and a couple of parent drop-offs a day. They said a fair few number of children walk, or they can share a taxi as well. I think that if they're increasing pupil numbers, they will also be increasing staff levels, hopefully, which would again increase the traffic movements. There's not much, it centers around traffic movements, basically.
Thanks, Catherine. Emma, I see you're still online. Would you like to add anything before we, as councillors, discuss?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to read some of the objection that my husband and I put in. The main issue is that we find it very concerning that the main crux of the school's original application was that there would be very little change in numbers. I clearly read through the original application very carefully, and it constantly referred to a very little change in numbers. Taking the numbers that they are proposing, it takes the percentage to a 34% increase. I don't know what maths anybody else's maths is like, but to me a slight increase would perhaps be 5%, not 34%. The new application appears to gloss over this point, and it emphasises throughout the application, if you've read it, is that the council, it sort of appears to imply that the council have already approved the change to a day school, and so additional numbers don't really make any difference to the application. But if you read Carlton Langford's very detailed report, it talks it talks a lot about, restricted numbers and very little change. There were three very clear reasons for the restriction. One was Ofsted requirements. 2 were highway concerns for road safety and traffic, and 3, protecting the amenities of neighbouring buildings. My belief is that there is really nothing in the new application that adequately and materially changes or addresses these 3 points. In December 2022, the application stated it may be possible to accommodate slightly more pupils in the future. A 34% rise does not indicate a slight increase. In the very same application, it commented a change of use from residential to a day school may result in a small number of additional day students. Again, 34% is not slight or small. Turning to the highway safety matter, the traffic survey consisted of a 90-minute survey, and we feel that something of such importance requires a little bit more than that. We would like to understand how many pupils were in school on the date of the traffic survey. In the original application, it made reference to the fact that the school was not at full capacity, even though it could have up to 66 pupils. If indeed this is the case, then the traffic survey would not be a true reflection of a school either at full capacity or that of an increase to 88 pupils. The report carefully did some analysis on how many pupils would walk to school, how many pupils would be dropped off, how many would share a taxi. It made an assumption that 75% of pupils would travel via a taxi and would typically transport 2.5 pupils per taxi. It does not say how many taxis in total came to the school on the day in question. It only stated that 4 taxis arrived prior to 2:45 in the afternoon. Again, using the traffic survey's calculations, if you assume 88 pupils with 75% travelling by taxi, this did allow for a 10% absentee rate, and you assume 2.5 pupils for taxi. By my calculations, this would represent 24 taxis arriving at pick-up and drop-off periods. Again, a 90-minute survey, is it deemed adequate for a change so significant that it could have an effect on residential amenities? We also commented on the staff to pupil ratio. I can't see anything in the application which makes any reference to an increase in staff numbers. Surely a 34% increase in pupils would also result in an increase in staffing. and therefore this would have an additional impact on all areas. And I think one of your colleagues alluded to that point about staffing. You would anticipate that staffing levels would go up. We've been residents of the school. We've been neighbouring residents for 13 years, and we have been very tolerant. We do support the need for children to play, but we also do have the right to the enjoyment of our garden, as do our own children. And it is important that restrictions are retained, in our view, to protect us as neighbours. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Thank you. Thanks very much for that, Emma. I'll go to any councillors now. I know Catherine's waving at me.
No, I was just going to follow up
Okay.
some of the things that Emma said, which was that we originally supported the application to change from a residential school to a day school on the proviso that pupil numbers didn't jump
Thank you.
up. And also there is a mention of staff pupil ratio in one of the documents, and it says they are not planning to increase staff numbers by that much. They are going to make their staff more efficient, which I don't really like the sound of.
No. Interesting. Thanks for that, Catherine. Any councillors want to add anything? Moving around. Philip first, and then Fiona.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, noting that an increase of 22 pupils, I would certainly have concerns about the number of taxis, because the majority of pupils attending the school are taxied in. And I'm not sure how they calculate this figure of 2.2, because most of the pupils that would be arriving would be in single taxis, a single child, I mean, in a taxi. The other thing regarding the staffing numbers, my initial thought was, well, that should actually mean an increase in staffing. But if the school is moving from residential today, then the number of residential staff or staff caring for students who actually are residential would actually decline. And therefore, there might not be the significant number that we might expect during the day. Although I do find it rather interesting that the very nature of the school, that they are seeking to go to 88, because that does have, I would say, that would have an impact on their offer in terms of what they're able to provide the children and the staffing ratios. I think the staffing ratio would be more of a concern rather than the number of staff. So I don't think the number of staff would increase dramatically, but I think that from what you've just said, Catherine, about the staff will work more efficiently, I don't understand that, what that actually means in this context.
Great, thanks for that. Fiona.
The plastic glass, if I'm remembering right, yeah, and the pink, yeah, okay. No, I was trying to remember it. I feel really conflicted. There obviously is not. This is a provision that is desperately needed. There is not enough education facilities for children with autism and neurodiversity, and I've just checked their Ofsted rating is their latest Ofsted rating is good, and it's clearly a well-run facility. It is really concerning what you said, that they're not planning on increasing staff. I'd also say that would also be providing jobs as well in the local area. So that does concern me, but I also can't shake the feeling that that's how many places is it? What is it, that an extra 33 places? That's an extra 22, sorry. Long day. 22 places, that's an extra 22 children with, real need of a facility like that, who will be able to get an education and will be supported appropriately. And I feel conflicted about it. I think it's a really difficult one for me.
Andy, and then Holly, and then Mark.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be aware I'm chair of governors at Critchhill School, so I've got some knowledge of how the needs of these children can be met. One of the issues, I think, as Phil commented, is that typically, because they need both a taxi driver and somebody in the taxi looking after the passenger, the taxi capacity is at most 2 children, and in a large proportion of cases, one taxi is one child. So 22 extra children, even if only 75% of them come by taxi, in my mind means 16, 17 extra taxis every day. That pretty diagram that we see with that nice clean flow of everybody turning left into the site and turning left out of the site just ain't the reality. Anybody who works past that junction at busy times of day knows that there's queues of traffic trying to turn right across each other's path on what's already known as quite a dangerous stretch of road in Frome. And I know some of the residents are pushing for a 20-mile-an-hour limit outside there in order to try and mitigate some of that risk. We do desperately need this provision. But I can't help feeling that trying to suggest that you can provide for 22 extra children without a commensurate increase in staff and without a commensurate increase in traffic is pulling the wool over our eyes.
Thanks, Andy. Polly.
I think I agree with a lot of what Fiona's saying and have to defer also to Andy being a trustee at Critchell and Philip being in education in his life as well. I feel like there is desperate need and there's more awareness of these kind of issues for children educationally, and that's increasing. So obviously this is going to keep coming up. I wish we could sort of hear a bit more from the school. I think we're making quite a few assumptions on some limited information that we have. That's what I feel. And it would be so great if the school could to comment on some of these things, these objections. I don't, at that point, I just find it to be, I don't know, my experience of driving along there is not the same as you're describing. I don't feel that it poses a significant safety risk, but if highways have requested more information, why are we being asked to decide now?
We are asked, thank you. As soon as an application goes in, we are notified. If they then take highways objection, well, not objection, comment on board and they redesign and there's a big change, we will then be re-notified and we can re-comment. It's just the planning system.
On the point of the traffic and cars coming in and out, that was a regular route for me to walk into town where I used to live. And opposite that entrance, there is a hedge, and along that hedge, cars park there every day. And therefore that limits the width. And in 9 out of 10 times you drive up and down that road, you have to give way at some point. And one of the areas where cars give way, excuse me, coming from town towards Froomfield is actually in the driveway of the school. Therefore, if you've got cars coming from Froomfield wanting to turn into the school and cars coming from town wanting to turn into the school, you effectively have a blockage. Traffic can't pass. You can't have 3 cars side by side. So that would be an increase of that issue. And I have known people who have been hit by wing mirrors on that pavement because people have had to go very tight to it. So there is a traffic issue there, and I think this would just make it worse.
Thanks, Philip. Mark?
Did we see the application for this to be changed from a residential to a day school? I know it came before us before. Was it end of last year sometime?
A year ago.
So, and then that was say that we want to make it a day school for 66 pupils. Why didn't they say at the time they wanted to make a day school for 88 pupils? I don't see that they've had a sudden influx of demand. They must have done a business case on this because they are a business rather than a educational authority. And so I'm just feel that we might be a bit out over here.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Emma, you got your hand up. Did you want to add something?
I did, yeah, thank you. Yeah, taking on board everybody's points. I haven't heard any of you talk about the neighbouring amenities, and I've heard talk about the highways, and I've heard talk about the staffing ratios, but I think we mustn't underestimate that this is in a residential area, and we really need to consider that as residents. As to the impact of any additional, irrespective of the other points we've talked about, the impact. And one of the key requirements on the restriction was to protect the amenities of neighbouring buildings. And I would really like that supported with regards to, making sure that there is a balance, and it isn't just about the points that we've raised, but it's also about the fact that part of the original application was approved at that cap to protect the neighbouring amenities, and I would like to emphasise that.
Okay, thanks very much. Anyone else got any comments? I mean, I sort of agree with pretty much what I think Andy and Mark has said. The traffic. I mean, traffic. Yeah, the survey is not adequate. I mean, for once we agree with highways, which is. It needs a much better traffic assessment. It seems to me that the school's getting further and further away from what it was originally set up for, which was a residential school from memory, and now it's becoming a day school. So the application sort of doesn't. There's just not enough information, really. I don't think in terms of what they're doing, and and what Emma said about the impact it may have on surrounding residents. I mean, the traffic alone has got to be safe for the pupils and surrounding residents as well. So yeah.
May I interject, Steve? The original school was 19 pupils, just to put it into context, back in 2001. So that was the original 19 pupils for residential. For pupils with conditions that needed a little bit more support. So that was the original 19 on the school roll.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. So where are we? I don't know, Catherine. What have we got so far? I think we've got quite a few objections.
Yes, highways have commented for more. Well, they've said they want more information and a redesign, so I'd say that's an objection. It's the impact on highways going in and out of town. It's the impact on residents. It's the impact on the children, due to them not being clear about staffing levels. So, to you guys.
Yeah. Anyone else got any more comments for you?
I would like to hear more from the school. I don't feel that we've been given enough information, and I personally don't. I understand all the concerns, but it is a balance, and I don't feel like we've fully heard the other side of it. So I would like, can we invite the school to kind of come and talk to us about the plans they have for North Hill House, and including looking at the staffing of it and where they're planning on going. Is this, is there going to be another application? And however, so yeah, that's how I feel personally. I don't personally feel ready to object or support at this point.
Okay. Philip?
I think I agree with a lot that what Fiona's just said. I think for me, to go to 88 moves away from what's already been said, moves away from what they originally were set up for. And it feels as though it's a commercial decision moving away from residential, because residential fees would be a lot higher than daycare fees. But also what I'd like to know from the school is how they intend to manage their school day in terms of that number of pupils, and I respect the lady's comments, but are they actually saying 88 pupils outside at one go? I doubt it. Are they saying, is it going to be staggered? Are the activities also, not just playtimes, but the activities that take place outside, are they going to be staggered? So from that point of view, I don't think we've got enough information.
Yeah.
Can I add something? just on that, similar to what was said at the last application, is I do understand looking at it in terms of profit, but again, it's not like the government is providing enough of these facilities right now. So again, the only provision of this is coming from the commercial sector. I'm not a big fan of, profit 20%. I completely get that, but I also, just want to add in, and maybe it's also that demand is so high. Maybe they are recognizing that there is a lot of children with this who need this sort of support, and they are just trying to meet the demand. I don't want to make assumptions, and I think that's the problem. Is we're talking about assumptions here about what they're thinking and where it's coming from, and we just don't know. More information.
Yeah, I think we need to try and establish a communicative partnership with the school, just understand what their business plan is. I mean, the last thing we want now is 12 months from now they come and say, oh, Ofsted say because we've got 88 pupils, we've got to put another building on the site.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what I'm hearing now then is that we defer this and we ask the school to come and present to us what their plans are and engage with neighbours and basically so everyone can get it clear what their intention is going forward. And time for highways to sort themselves out. Okay? Okay. So I'll propose what I just said.
Yeah.
Great.
Can I just suggest that when we are discussing it again, we do specifically invite Emma to join us?
Yes. Yeah, Emma and I think her husband wanted to come along, but he's away. So
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
yeah, thanks, Emma. Thanks for turning up.
Thank you.
Sorry about the wait.
No problem.
Right. The next one is 285 Garston House, Portway. It's the installation of a CT scanner with office and staff welfare facilities, external staircase to an existing building. It's both a full application and a listed building consent because it's because Garston House is listed. So this is it's in one of the outbuildings behind the main house. These are the existing elevations on the top row and the proposed elevations on the bottom row. As you can see, the exterior isn't changing too much except for the addition of this lovely steel fire escape stair. The Civic Society are objecting on that basis because it's a listed building. This is the internal layout. Again, existing plan on the existing plan on the top row, proposed plans on the bottom row. So it's currently an office, storeroom, laundry, just ancillary to the veterinary surgery, and they want to change it so it's offices upstairs and a smaller laundry and like a staff room, I suppose, and the CT scanner downstairs. It's for small animals, not anything for bigger. And yeah, it's not farm animals and it's not for Longley. It's just cats to go in the cat scanner.
There is a joke there somewhere, isn't there? Yeah, lab test and cat scan.
I believe it's called CT now.
Sorry. Civic Society are objecting again due to this building. There's been some objections from the neighbours whose garden runs behind where that staircase would be. They're objecting on the basis of overlooking and disturbance during the day, which seems fair enough. I am wondering if the stair could be internal as it was previously, I think, or if it could be screened in some way.
So if it's internal, then does it because it's a fire escape, isn't it?
Well, I think they've just put it in for...
If you can't, surely if it's internal, you'd be escaping into the fire, which would be...
Well,
No, because then they need a door,
it-
yeah.
Yeah. So is it the change of use of the upstairs space that's triggering the need for a fire escape?
Guess so.
No, 'cause they've already got an office upstairs. I can't see how they access it because there's no stairs on the plan.
So is the fire escape actually the way of getting up there? So it would be.
Yeah. But I don't know, I don't understand how they get up there now.
saying it'd be constant use. That's what the neighbours are saying. It would be constant.
So does it need to be?
So it's not a fire escape, it's a access.
Yeah, but they've specified a fire escape stair, like a steel metal one.
I mean, I like the fact there's a fire escape because it means if there's a fire, people can get out.
Yeah, it kind of helps.
I don't want to object to a fire escape personally, especially given the battery storage conversation.
So hang on, that is the only access to that upper floor, isn't it? Just to get in the
Yeah,
plane.
but I'm looking at the plans and it didn't occur to me earlier, but I
See
don't,
how they get there now.
yeah, I don't understand how they get up there now.
Could we talk about a potential screen from the neighbours? One of the owner of the neighbouring property said that he would withdraw the objection if there was a screen there. Correct?
Yes, he did say that. There is a wall behind, so the stair is hidden behind the outbuilding. So the only people it would disturb are the neighbours, which is not great. So I don't know if there's a way for that wall to be built up or for them to provide a different screening or to brick in the stair in some way, matching. I'm sure the conservation officer will have an opinion on a material to cover it, to hide it.
Seems so. I'm just looking at the plans of what it is now and what they're saying. It does say timber access door and entrance on the first floor, so there must be some sort of.
There is, I'll show you. I've just found it.
Yeah, there you go, entrance. Yeah.
But that's a door, but how are people getting to the door?
Well, there must.
First floor.
But yeah, because you've got on here, you've got entrance there, so there must be unless that's going somewhere. Is that like an outside? Yeah, it must be like a walkway or
Yeah,
something.
there's a,
We got any photos of it?
it's up in the sky.
What's up there at the moment?
Well, the cats can go up there.
That's some sort of walkway, but we don't know where it goes or what it.
Can't picture it.
No, I can't. You can't see it, I don't think, because I did have a look around, but you can't.
I think for me, the bottom line is the disturbance to the amenity of the neighbours. I think if there's a way that this can be done in a way that preserves the privacy of the people who are living adjacent, then that's what we should be encouraging.
And at the same time, potentially out of a material that makes civic society or the conservation officer see that it's in keeping with the building.
Yeah, totally agree.
Because if you're doing something, you might as well do it more in keeping.
Yeah, or
First thing is amenity and safety, right?
yeah, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't want to see it built out of wood.
Wooden fire escape would be interesting, wouldn't it?
I don't believe there's actually building regulations specifying material for fire.
Well, there you go. They can make a wooden fire escape. Yeah, I agree with what Andy and Polly said. Don't know if anyone else has got any.
Yeah, whether they could fit an internal stair.
So where are we with the don't object, don't support argument?
We can make a comment. We can comment if we neither object nor support. Or we can say we support the changes, but we've got concerns about the stair because of neighbourhood immunity and.
Yeah, we've no objection to the actual building itself and what they're doing in the building, but I think we'd like to see the fire escape staircase, as Polly said, screened off to protect the immunity of the neighbours.
Should I say support, but It's subject to the Conservation Officer's approval on the stair and something to protect the immunity of the neighbours.
Yes.
Yep, that works for me.
Yep, okay.
Opposed?
Second. Right. Any others?
Yeah, there's a few, but I can't write quickly enough. Hang on. Subject to Conservation Officer's approval plus neighbour immunity. Okay. The next one is 16 Churchwood Drive, which is proposed extensions and alterations. So this is the existing site plan on the left and the proposed site plan on the right, other way around because I'm looking at the wrong screen. It is currently a conservatory which they are proposing to knock down and extend backwards, taking in the same width as the conservatory but going backwards across the house. So it's really quite a large extension. When I looked, there were no comments from neighbours or the ward councillors, I don't believe. This is the proposed first floor plan and existing proposed roof plan. So you can really see the mass of it, especially with the two pitched roofs on the side. And again, existing elevations at the top, proposed elevations below. And again,
Yeah, it is on quite a big site though, isn't it?
It's a big extension on a big plot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Invoking the John Nelson principle.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we've had that conversation.
Are they retrofitting at the same time? Is there any extra insulation or?
It doesn't say, there's no report with it. I assume they're just modern building regs, as is.
No objection from me.
No objection from me.
No objection.
I'll propose no objection then.
Seconded.
Right. Fiona, thank you.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Next one is 25851 Catherine Street, which we saw time before last.
Illuminated sign.
Was the illuminated sign? They have brought it back. Sans illumination. That's it.
It's just a sign.
It's just a sign. It is.
As far as I can see, they've done what we asked them to do.
No objection.
No objection.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Can you keep up?
Next.
This is the last one.
Oh, no, it's not. I've got one.
Thanks, Steve. This is 304 land adjacent to the retreat.
Oh, it's the one I was going to say.
It is an application for an existing lawful development certificate for works begun with within 3 years on planning application. So we believe they've started. There's not-
They sent any photos?
They have sent some photos, Fiona, but they are just of a manhole cover, so nothing.
Thank you. Right, we've lost Fiona, by the way.
I've only brought. Go on. What were we going to say?
Well, it's tricky to object, isn't it, at the end of the day, as the Civic Society points out. I do think we should find out from Family Site Solutions what their intentions are there with the plot, with the site, because, you know, the reason they're doing this is because the 3 years is just about to expire, so they've dug a hole in the ground, which is fair enough. But what are their plans going forward?
What is the application on the site?
It's, yeah, Helen.
Ah, Helen, welcome. It's all gone a bit crazy here. Go on. Hi, Helen.
Hello, hi. Yeah, I was interested to know what was going on here because, as some of you will know, when this came up before, I argued quite strongly that at planning board that it should be linked to us getting a path along the river. and there was a whole load of negotiations going on with Friends of the River Frome and some of the local councillors, and my co-ward councillor Shane Collins was involved about where the path should go. So I don't know that that was ever resolved satisfactorily. So I just wondered if you'd had any information at all at town council level about that.
Well, I know the public right-of-way application is still live, it's still ongoing. Yeah, the Suttons did provide, it was a permissive path, wasn't it, to the other side away from the river, which would then loop down sort of close to the river beyond this particular site. But yeah, that was 3 years ago.
I don't know if that was ever fixed though. It was a permissive path, but there was nothing. There was no legal agreement, as far as I remember. Anyway, I'll chase it up with Shane. I just wondered if you knew anything more.
Jane can talk. So that's what's going on. Fill us in.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Yes, so as you'll be aware, the submission for the permissive path to become a formal footpath is still waiting to be determined by Somerset Council.
It'll be 10 years.
Yeah, but the application itself, on the plans, it did show the route of an alternative pathway through the site, so it wouldn't take you directly along the course of the river. And I believe that a link to the area of land that's outlined in blue, which is not part of the application site, has been put in. So if the footpath application or the right-of-way application is not successful, there will still be a route from the retreat through the housing development and then back down towards the river at a further point, but it won't be a riverside path unless obviously the right-of-way application is approved.
I thought there was an issue about it being one or the other, that the Suttons wanted us to wanted the local people in the retreat, and there was a sort of little protest group that they wanted them to withdraw their application for a proper right of way, which would then appear as a green line on an OS map, and that would go along the river, and in so doing they would then provide this permissive path through their development or alongside the edge of, I can't remember the lady's name now, the lady that lives down the edge of her wall.
Diana Barger.
Yes, Diane, yes.
Yeah, you're right, Helen, that is the case, but I understand that actually once you've submitted the application for it to be a public right of way, you can't actually withdraw it. So it will go through to determination. At least that's what I was told. So
I just think it's so essential that we have that link up so people can walk to the station, and it's just that last bit. It's just so important. This last bit of the jigsaw of the footpath along the river, that I just don't want anything to jeopardise it. And I'm sure this doesn't, but I just wondered where we were with an update. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Helen.
Okay.
Thank you.
What they've provided is a quote for the manhole work and no actual confirmation that it has actually happened, right? And that those photos could be of anywhere.
we know it has been done.
Do we just know that it has happened?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We met the contractor on a different project, and he sort of told us that he had. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I just think it would be good to get an update as to what their intention is with the site, whether they intend to sell it on as a site with planning permission or actually start the build.
Right,
But we can't really object.
no, but if they sell it on or they build it themselves, whatever they're planning, that's what's got planning permission. That's what will go there. Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Okay.
So what we're saying is it will come back when outline planning permission.
No, they've got planning permission for something. They got it, I'm going to say, 3 years ago, and now they're concerned that will lapse because they've not started. So they have made a material start on site, which is starting the drainage works.
Upon housing crisis conversation at last night's planning meeting, one of the things we spoke about was how we can sort of try and enforce, developers who have planning permission to actually build what they said they would build, get on with it. So can we sort of, at the same time as doing this, put a bit of pressure on them to kind of come in and talk to us, or what you just said, and whether we can actually get them moving on it?
Because, in theory, they could just sit on the site for another 3 years and wait for the market to go up, which is not really what we want. Yeah. No, but I think we should ask the question and see if they reply.
Yeah, I can email. We will email them.
Great, thank you.
Oh, no, hang on, we need to vote.
Yes, vote, yeah.
Sorry, there was one other that was on the list.
Hang on, we've got to vote on the
Oh, you want to cover this one?
Well, obviously no objection, but Catherine could send an email to the agent to ascertain what their plans are and when they timing going to start building, etc.
Yep.
Opposed?
And that's unanimous.
Thank you.
I want to talk about Barclays.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
So just noted the line from Barclays about the fact that they're going to, rip out the bank and make good. The experience we've had in town of banks making good after they've ripped out ATM machines is not very satisfactory. And I think if this is approved, then there should be a tight timescale applied to say it should be made good to original spec within X weeks or X months.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. Hopefully they've learned from the NatWest incident.
You mean you think banks might talk to each other and sort of plan things together like interest rates?
This is the planning meeting. Anything could happen at the end of the day. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think we should tell them that they need to make good properly. So thanks for that. Do we need to vote on that, Joan?
Yes, I think you would need to vote on that because it was raised for discussion, and then you just need to vote on the rest.
Right.
Okay.
We haven't discussed.
So I'll propose that one. Thank you.
That's unanimous.
And I propose that we go with Catherine's comments on the rest of the applications.
Yep.
And that's unanimous as well.
Great.
Thank you. Is that anything else?
Anything else? No, thanks very much. The next meeting is, Anna, help. 31st of August. Next planning meeting, 31st of August. Look forward to seeing everybody then.